We're back. T.A. Mahoney Tales from the Dark Side podcast. We got a special one today. We brought him back for the second time. We've probably been doing this, I'm thinking, about 8 months now, and I'm starting to double up on people that really I need 4 or 5 of them for this guy. But Captain Jerry Williams joined us today. What you up to, Jerry?
Nothing too much, Mike. I really appreciate to get the opportunity to talk to you, throw out a few bones for the hungry dogs that'll make it easier on them
That's right.
to catch them fish.
That's right. And you know what, Jerry? It's springtime, Tampa Bay. Some of the best time of year, at least when all the other guys can show them big pictures of snook. But we all get to catch big fish this time of year. It's probably about everybody's favorite, wouldn't you think?
Yep, May is just like it's even better than April, June, March, whatever. Now in March, I used to catch a lot of big sow trout, a lot of them up there.
You know what? That was one thing when I used to fish with you quite a bit. We never really got on trout. Was there a reason for that? You didn't want to take me to the hole, did you?
No, I did not, and I won't.
You still won't even talk about it and tell me I'll go there without you, huh?
Now, if my buddy Hartley hears about this right here, I'm up the creek, and he's got the paddle.
Yeah, and he's watching too. You know, that is one of the things, Jerry, that I don't remember doing a lot with you was trout fishing. But one of the times we went, it was springtime, in the mouth of Palm River.
Yep.
On that old dock over there on the south side of the river, right towards the mouth, and
Yep.
those trout were up in there on those stubs coming up.
That's the old railroad ties, Mike, that ones they didn't take across from the river,
Right.
and they just dumped them right there in that hole.
Yeah.
That hole's 15, 16 foot, used to be anyway.
Yeah, and we were using mirror lure. You know, earlier today we were talking about tuning a mirror lure. And what do you mean by tuning one?
Well, all your hooks have to be parallel to each other. And you can't have that back set of hooks cockeyed off to the left or right. It's got to be like dead center if you want that lure to do what it's supposed to do. It takes less effort.
Yeah, and even on those smaller lures, you got like 2 different areas where the hooks are, but also that guide coming off the nose that you're tying to.
Yeah, a lot of people they get all excited when they get one, bring it back, or lose it on the way back. Look at that front eyelet and that back eyelet on that mirror lure. And I usually throw a 7M21 or 7M23. I like the 7M silver one. It's very good. Some people like the gold. I hadn't had no luck with the gold because they have confidence over here.
Black
in a
and silver,
different-
right?
Yeah, I like that black and silver. That 23 color, tannic acid, you can't go wrong up in these rivers, Bullfrog Creek, wherever.
Yeah, and Jerry, his specialty was really from I went with you way down south. Of course, we cobia fished, went all the way to Skyway, but you really focused on, I'd say, Simmons Park to the north on the east side of the bay.
Yep.
And you could make a day of it over there, fishing that flat on Simmons Park, come back up into the kitchen, and just work your way back down to downtown.
You know, a lot of time, Mike, when me and you went fishing, we'll go in there and plug out 100, 200, 300 yards of a shoreline till we found them fish.
That's right.
And that's a lot of work, believe it or not. It's fun, but to be persistent and consistent, you got to do it right.
Yeah, it takes, that's one thing I learned was patience. When you go into a flat, if you caught them yesterday off the center of that flat, off the point, well, you think to yourself, well, maybe I'll just run straight up in there, straight to that point, and it doesn't always work that way. You may run them over before you get there. I know what we call High Pine Bay, which is south of Pendola Point on the east side, that whole flat there before you get to the Alify, gets super skinny in there, but lots of fish like hanging out over there. One of the things I've noticed there, Jerry, is when people around the bay start talking about the redfish have kind of disappeared, it seems like that area over there, they must come there that time of year. You know, whether it's I know I caught them in August there, September, kind of right before the fall, and it seems like it's pretty good over there.
Yeah, well, like even December and January, that flat up in front of Gordonier there, I'd see 200 and 300. I just anchor up, let that tide start coming back. You just watch them big pods roll in.
Yeah.
And then they'd go back inside and they'd go up to 41 Bridge. Just patience.
You know, one of the things that impressed me about Jerry, you talk about tuning lures. He would always spend time out there, whether he was out there with a client or by himself, just kind of testing it. But one of the things I want you to talk about is how you used to put those lures in boiling water and kind of, I'd call them deform them. They kind of blow them out some and that kind of thing. Did you have any success doing that?
Yeah, I caught several fish on those plugs right there. And it made Eric wake up because the buoyancy on that plug, the bigger around, little stubby, the shallower it'll float. You can throw that plug in 4, 5, 3 inches, whatever.
Once you blow it up like that?
Yeah.
How long would you leave them in there?
I was holding on to it with my fingers. Get the water boiling first.
Yeah.
Then you could just watch it swell up around where that glue.
Did it pretty
was.
even there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. Then
Yeah.
after I did that, then I had to go over and get the right hooks to balance that lure out. It's like mirror lure. You ever been at mirror lures over there?
No.
L&S?
No.
Eric, I wish he'd have took you over there. They got these big machines full of clear plastic bubble,
Like
clear
little
plastic balls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff.
And that's how they're made. They just melt those down.
Melt it down, and then it goes through another chamber. I can't really tell the truth about it. I've seen a little bit of it. I was more interested in getting some plugs than I was
Getting
watching
that
this
free
other.
stuff. You were
No,
like that, right?
not me. I earned it.
Yeah. You're like, I'm Captain Jerry. Where's my goodie bag?
Yeah, Eric Bosnick, I tell you what, him against the Watts, that's the one you need
Yeah,
to
Watt's
call out.
been talking a little bit of trash lately. I'm gonna have to get him out there. I was telling Jerry, y'all keep this a secret, because what I'm gonna do to Brian, we're gonna go out there and probably have some little, filming thing where we're gonna film each other, and if he starts counting fish right away, you know what I'm gonna do, Jerry?
What?
Get out of the boat. Get out of the boat right now. You think you can beat me in my boat? It's 3-1. You're counting. I'm gonna pick you up in about 6 hours.
Yeah, then I'm going to get a rubber raft and out bass fish you.
That's right. Out bass fish. I'm looking forward to that one. I'd like to get you on that one, Jerry.
It's been years, but it's similar. Salt, fresh, same thing, really.
Yeah, just have a good time. Well, I always say that I think when they graduate freshwater, they get into saltwater. That's usually the way I looked at it. But you know what it is too? It's wherever you grew up. I grew up in Brandon, so I did quite a bit of freshwater fishing when I was a kid, just because that was the only thing available during the week. And whether it was a pond in a cow pasture or a pond at the end of the road, that's where we went to. And of course, in the summers and going with my dad on weekends, we'd get out there in the salt water and have a good time. But to get your fix as a little kid when you can't drive, them ponds, they did a pretty good job back in the day.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
Not kidding. A lot of them was half waist deep, 3/4 waist deep, man. You couldn't go wrong on that.
Yeah.
Up there in Dade City back in the later part of the 70s, I believe, had a drought up there. Denlinger Lake, all the way back over to, I can't think of this. I knew I had this on my mind before.
It ain't no problem with the names of them, but you'd fish them all as a kid.
Yep, I had a 14-foot cane pole, dig the worms out in the back of the house, and go. And once I got my spinning reel, shame on them. It was over for them.
I know one of my favorite times was fishing with Matt, my manager here at the store, and we'd get basically a pound of bacon and little pinfish hooks, and we'd go brim fishing out there, and we'd use that whole pound of bacon on a Saturday or
Cut little
Sunday.
squares out.
I remember riding the bike with the stringer full of fish, dragging the street all the way home. Of course, that was when I realized once you keep all of them out of the pond, there ain't going to be no more to catch. So we had to switch up and go to a different pond.
Yeah, it used to be from Evans juice plant out there off of 301, but it'd go back in there to Nikolai Woods and all the way down. It butted into Denlinger Lake, and that was the last lake right there at the time back in the early 60s. Might have been 58, 9, but it's all in that category. And one year, everything just dried up. The aquifer just about was completely gone.
Right. Did it take a while to get back?
Oh, did it? That was about a 4-mile ride from my bike. But those was good eating fish too. Railroad culverts you could pull off the road there with a cane pole once we had all the rain and stuff. And that water come gushing through there, and it's just like one right after the other.
Yeah, y'all hear him now, one after another. But when he was a guide, he was wanting you to put them back. Catch and release. What happened to you, Jerry? You used to be a meat fisherman, then you turned into naming them. You used to think that downtown was yours, boy. You'd hate to see Mahoney come blasting through there, huh? Where is he going?
He's taking me for a ride right now, but I got a surprise.
Yeah, there you go. I'd see Jerry quite a bit coming in, and we were heading out. We fished a lot of nights in there. I really liked fishing for big snook down there in the port at night. It's kind of hard to beat. You could go down there, and it's nothing but structure. They got to be on every single piece out there. And, the convention center there, all those old docks that went along there was probably some of the best. I've told people before, and, they kind of disbelieve it, but we used to go down there with those feeder mice. We'd go to the pet store and get mice that you feed your python, so it's not like, what's the difference between a python and a snook?
Yeah.
And you'd hook that little mouse on and throw him up underneath them docks, and let me tell you something, it was better than any greenback or mirror lure or snatch hook, or even better than a cast net. I mean, they would fight over that thing.
There's still a lot of gold coins up there in front of Harbor Island.
Oh yeah, down in the water?
Yeah, years ago them ships used to come up there to unload them people that was coming into America. Tommy said, if you can go down there, mahogany and teak wood them docks was made of.
Yeah, I bet it was awesome. That's where the old fort was, and that's what I tell people about, in our industry here, being in the marine business, whether you're a fishing guide or a retail store, even a hotel, you're in the marine business in this area. It's a maritime city, and once you get away from that, you're not doing the city any good, But having the port here as big as we are in Port Manatee, I believe it'll stay that way.
Yeah.
I enjoy fishing them old docks down there. One good thing about downtown is when it's windy, there's always a place to hide. I mean, you don't have to run far. I remember coming across that river a few times wanting to get to that other side there, and once you get in, it pretty much works out, and you can kind of sneak back in there. I don't know how much they let you go back in there now. I think some of the area's open, but some of that area we used to fish, I think they'll run you out of there.
Where's that now?
Like downtown and the port here and the power plant right there downtown.
East side. East side.
Is east side's okay?
Yeah, that's east side. That don't belong to me. That belongs to the Port Authority.
Yeah, and they'll let you know that if you're in the wrong spot, won't
Very
they?
quick.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Yeah, they pretty much look out for our port and run it and make sure everything's good down there, so you got to listen to them. But all that area behind Harbor Island, back over into by International Ship and all that, and back up, that's the backside of Harbor Island. Just some excellent fishing back there. It's kind of hit or miss.
I hear a lot of people, Mike, say, I won't fish up there, this, that, the fish. You go in there day after day and pick one up here, pick one up there, come out 4, 6, 8, 10 fish in the morning time.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of good fishing around there.
I mean, we used to go over there by me and you'd run that edge almost all the way to Palm River snook fishing. All that rock and all that stuff that's laid up down there, and just work your way all the way down there. And we'd always pick fish up, or at least miss fish.
Yeah,
I would.
Snapper fishing good too.
Yeah.
But it's got to be on the strike zone. It can't be 4 foot out here now. It's got to be right up here in front of his lip. Believe me.
Yeah, that's Jerry. He'll tell you about it too. I'll try to beat him to the spot. See, when you fish with Jerry, you got two guys on the bow of the boat, and you think the fair way to do it would be to run the boat straight to the point that you're going to fish. But what Jerry would do is he'd push you out to the outside, and that way the first cast was him. He was getting that first one. Of course, I was going all the way across him, make him spin the boat. We'd have a good time, but we caught plenty of fish down there. It's a great area to fish. I still love fishing it.
It's still, all them fish is good eating too. Out of all those years, 20-something years down there that I fished, had one redfish with a little bitty 3/8 tumor in him, right up on his backbone. Then one fish, maybe 17-inch snook that I caught. And I caught him up there, Hillsborough River, right by a road discharge. What do you call them?
Yeah, I don't know, where it dumps out all the water into the bay. You got to get something. I'm surprised there wasn't a hypodermic needle stuck in his eye from the hospital back then. They didn't really care about where that stuff went back in the day, did they,
No,
Jerry?
he was looking at that plug.
Yeah. He didn't know what hit him. Well, Jerry, I appreciate you coming out today. We got a couple segments to do here. We're going to take us a little break, and we'll be right back. We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side, with my weirdo buddy, Captain J. Captain J, what you say, buddy?
Hey, what do you have to say, Captain Michael? You want to pick on me, bro? I'll put something on you that Ajax can't take off, no way.
You know, he always tells me that, but it seems like the last few times, we ain't been out there in what, well over a year.
No, it's been over 2 years. February was 2 years, bro. Just because you got one up on me, and that was the only damn fish that we caught that morning, and it wasn't fair.
What did I catch it and then the boat broke down?
You act like some little cracker done caught him a damn big fish as a 2-inch sardine.
That's what happened. I got one up on him, and I said, you know what? Might as well quit while you're ahead. It's like being at the casino.
Yeah, now, let me give y'all a tip right here and see if it makes any sense to you or whatever. We're going to be casting a 7-foot spinning rod. One of them new bull bays, you know,
there
maybe
you go.
We'll see if it snap into or just how good it is. But each time you cast, keep the bait from the tip the same, because if you don't, your casts are not coordinated alike.
Now, do you change that if it's live bait versus artificial?
Yes, because I throw spinning gear different completely from a bait caster. Because with a bait caster, when you bring it back in, you bring it within an inch of the tip, rear back here and fling her again. It's all in your back cast on a bait caster, because you get it, leave it hang out about a foot and a half. Then that way, once you whip that thing down there, you'll put it right there where you want it.
But if you leave it 2 foot and you've been throwing it 1 foot, it's going to go somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying. See now, a lot of people don't do that. I remember when we was at the fairgrounds, I was talking with a couple of people, and they was asking me about that. And then when you had Appreciation Day coming up,
yeah,
and both of them come over and said, "Man, I wish I'd have been casting like that in my life."
Yeah,
It's just a little bitty tip, Mike. Made it feel good. It didn't. It's just a lot of fun to
and it works.
Introduce it. Yeah.
Teach somebody something. You know, something like I was thinking about when you were talking, when I offshore fish, grouper fish, and you're reeling up the line, you do the same thing. You want that line about the same length as the rod.
Yeah.
So when you lift, it's kind of like that Calcutta pole. So when you lift it straight up, where does it come? Straight to you. You're not reaching for it, having to set the rod down to bait your hook, and it's banging all over the boat.
I know. I see these bass guys, the way they fish and throw the rod down on there and this
They
and
ain't
that.
all there. They're a little slow. That's why they're bass fishermen. That's exactly why they're, Short bus. That's what that is. That's the bass fisherman. But yeah, some of them are pretty good. But boy, do they got a bunch of rods.
Whew, my goodness.
And laying up there on the deck. That's what worries me about
I know.
stumbling, hitting a stump, and going backwards in the trolling motor, and all of a sudden stepping on 8 rods.
I know.
I have to ask my cousin about that. I know his is loaded up with them rods, and they grab them quick. They don't want to retie. That's the whole theory. And you know what, Jerry? You think about it. Back when I was fishing with you, one of the things I learned from you is you never had just one rod for what you were doing. That bait caster, maybe you would have one of those, but you always had several of the same rods. So if you break off, if you want to change something, you may have 2 different colors on that rod. Boom, you can just grab the other one and start casting.
Just like a baseball pitcher, I got tuned in with a couple of rods I had, and that's the way it was. I don't like using 2 or 3 different rods because every time you got to refocus again.
I'll tell you all a little trick I did to Jerry, and I think I mentioned it last time. When somebody like Jerry, the way he's explaining things, he is really into detail. And when he starts fishing, I can promise you this, I fished with him, he doesn't miss the spot. Very few times do you miss the spot. I think about cobia. He brings that popping cork to a certain spot. That bait is so far down below it, every cast, the popping cork hits the float. It goes all the way around, 3/4 of the float, we go on to the next buoy. So it's kind of hard when you're, even though I try to cast twice as much as Jerry. That's my philosophy. If I can get 2 cast out to his 1, I'm going to catch more fish. It's just a numbers game.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that don't work either. So now I got to resort to messing with the bait. And Jerry had him a bait buster, DOA bait buster, and he had a lead. What do they give you, leads to shove up inside of it?
Quarter ounce for in the front to get the balance in.
Where it'll
Stuff out
pop
of it,
just
yeah.
right. Well, I took that weight when Jerry wasn't looking out of that bait because he kept switching up on 2 different colors. And he didn't bring no extras, so don't ask him for one after he catches 5 or 6
You're
fish.
on your own, bro, and you get on my boat.
Yeah. I usually have him bring lunch, and I figured, well, I'll eat some of yours, and then we end up hungry that day.
We have a bunch of good times, Mike will tell you that. But it's enjoyable, even with you, for these people to call you and talk to you and just find out little bitty stuff.
I'll tell them everything I know.
I will too, and I'll tell them don't blame me if you don't catch no fish.
Yeah. You didn't catch any fish yesterday where I told you to go? Well, I'd go back there because they're there and they're going to bite at some point, right?
Don't be messing with me today. I'll be way over here.
Yeah. That I'll tell you, a lot of people you were talking about, they come into this east side of the bay in Tampa Bay, and they don't like it because they can't see the bottom, and there is some bad rocks and concrete and
Tugboat tires.
oh, big tires off machinery that them tugboats lose. And what is all that over there at Ballast Point by the pier? I know we used to, that was treacherous.
I
in
forget
there.
what type of coral it is, but they used to bring it up the bay for the ballast in the wood ships,
And drop them there.
drop them, and the feds had them stop. You could take and cut that thing with that blade. Boy, beautiful colors of flint. Oh, just beautiful.
And
They
that-
did. They about messed the whole darn thing up over at Ballast Point because it used to go way out.
Yeah, and that's right on the edge too. There's spots out there that I think are at least 100 yards off that have some good rocks there you can see.
Oh yeah.
That's if you've never been over there and you want to explore that area, I suggest super low tide on the trolling motor.
That's it. One of these days where there's nobody else out there or whatever. That's special prime time fishing right there.
I think those days are hard to find nowadays, Jerry.
The wind.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to see somebody out there. That wind's been, I wish you'd give us a little bit of a break to get offshore. Well, I'm hoping this week maybe. And I know I'm filming some this week up at the Chaz where we can keep some redfish,
And
trout, and snook.
yeah, they're supposed to be maybe opening in next week or two, they say.
Yeah, what do you think about that spill they had down there, Jerry?
That's ridiculous greed.
You see any of it?
But look what they did to rising out there in the Gulf. They had a $12 billion bond on them. Why do these people get away with not having such a big bond?
Responsibility, right?
Then if it blows up like it did, you got the money and just feed it to it to stop it.
That's right. I agree with you.
And everybody's kind of hushed up right now about it.
But like, let me ask you something, Jerry. You've been fishing this side of the bay a long time, and I know a lot of people got upset, and I'm upset, and it ain't no good for the water, that spill out there. But go back 40 years, 50 years, you know, which is some of the history that you have here. How many spills have you seen? A lot more than one.
Yeah, one down here at Gordon Ye,
Yep.
and one morning I went in to fish High Pine Bay, and it wasn't nothing but solid milk water from the mouth of that mound up there all the way back up towards the point up there, Port Sutton.
Right.
It was all milk. There wasn't nothing flipping, nothing moving, whatever.
Blew it
I
out.
called
of
the
there.
Marine Patrol up. They dumping line, and that's supposed to not hurt nothing. Lime, I should say. It took a couple of weeks for them fish to come back in there. They
Did
say it doesn't hurt. BS.
Did it clear it up?
Yeah, after a couple of weeks
of flushing
yeah.
out, probably just went somewhere else. I know that area right there in the last 10 years has really come back good with the grass. I don't know if they want to tell you it's not them or whatever else, but it's right there by that alify, and it ended up not having grass for so many years. When me and you used to fish it, we fished more dark bottom than we did the grass patches because there really wasn't no grass patches.
No, but back in '86, Peter Clark with Bay Life,
Yep.
they put all that weeds and grass and stuff up and down the shore, all
That's
the way
right.
down past Whiskey Stump.
Yeah, and it's there.
Yeah.
I've seen
It
it.
matted in. They got lucky.
Yeah, and that's what's good about it. They that whole area has just been hammered, though, is what I mean. You know, there's been more than one spill in there, and we're just really fortunate being in an estuary. It really hadn't hung us out to dry. I know even the port, a lot of people think, oh, it's dirty down there and stuff, but I can tell you I've caught coral in the port. So it tells me if coral's living in there, that water's cleaner than you think. I think a lot of times that dirty water coming out of there, the fresh water and some of the runoff we get from this downtown area, that's what's making it more the brown water, but it's getting on out of there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they say a lot of people are fishing around Bayshore now.
Yeah, a ton of fish on Bayshore, and you know yourself, this time of year, what shows up out there off Bayshore? Tarpon. You know, as many tarpon as you guys go out there and catch at the Skyway and out on the beaches, and that stuff's fun because it's kind of a different kind of fishing. But there's plenty of pods over there right off Bayshore. You can drive down Bayshore and see them rolling. It's probably, I would guess, about another month. They get over there about the same time they get at the bridges. You know, a lot of people think you have to go to the Skyway and all the beaches out there to catch those tarpon. There's plenty of them that time of year up in Tampa Bay. You'll catch them at Howard Franklin. You'll catch them at Gandy. I know when were the big tournaments back in the day with Hank Dixon and, you know, Bill Miller used to fish them, and they all used to Smoky Whiteside, Colonnade. I think all them guys would.
Yeah, they'd cut them shad up and throw out a couple of coolers full.
But that was right in McKay Bay, wasn't it? A lot of times?
Off of Bayshore, and they done it right there in the mouth of McKay Bay and right at the mouth of Palm River. There's a lot of fish on up in the river right now. They stay there year round.
Yeah.
They stay.
And one of the best spots there, I know, Captain Eric Shapiro, and this is probably going back 20, 25 years ago, had a TV show called Left Coast Fishing.
Yeah.
And he was in the middle of the summer in Palm River at the bend there by Maydell Drive. There's a hole there that drops down pretty deep, and he was using those bait buster mullet catching tarpon right there. And I mean some big good ones, well over 100 pounds.
Yeah.
You never really targeted tarpon,
No,
did you?
I didn't, man. I've caught a couple, not into it.
Tear your little baby
best one
Snoopy rods up on it.
The best time I ever had, one afternoon I was at Ballast Point, I had a 70 M21. That's black back, silver side, white belly. That's the number right there. You always like that plug.
Yeah, I've got a few still.
And I hooked that fish and he jumped 15 times. The tarpon right over between.
You must
The
have
dock.
sharpened them hooks.
No, it got him up under the throat and he didn't know what he had on him.
He just couldn't shake it,
He
could
was
he?
a good 49-inch fish because I got him in the boat. And hell, I wasn't throwing a plug away with him on anyway, and I just cut him a little bit.
Y'all hear that? He cut that tarpon. Everybody's gonna be after you now.
Oh, he's a bad boy, huh? Oh,
You got your
Lord.
plug back, didn't you?
I'd blame right. I called Eric Bosnick and told him, hey, just what I did.
That's
But
awesome.
that was some fun. What I did, I counted 15 jumps on that fish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you caught him on a plug, and it was underneath his chin. Do you still count that as a caught fish?
I caught
Or you
that
think you
as a
snagged
winner.
it?
That would have been a winner because I got him in the boat and everything. I was kind enough to let him go.
Y'all hear this? I got some outlaw buddies. He was kind enough to let him go, not just throw him up on the
Oh,
bank,
Lord.
use him for
Mark,
shark
see
bait.
what? You in for a surprise if you take him fishing, buddy.
Yeah, I enjoy fishing, that's for sure.
Oh,
You know,
Lord.
those fish, and I hear a lot of the stuff down in Boca Grande, and it just makes me think about it this time of year. You got the big battles between people, you know, the live baiters versus, you know, the artificial guys, and they're trying to say,
Jiggers.
but you know, it's just like you said, Jerry. Jerry, you threw that mirror lure out there, you were working it, that tarpon attacked it, just so happened you hooked it underneath the chin because he's so violent with his thrashing, doesn't mean you didn't catch it. You
No.
know what I mean? There ain't no difference in catching it. And if you want to say that every time, you know, if you want to really get down to ethics, what does it matter if you're sticking a hook through a big old thread fin and throwing it out there to trick the tarpon to eat this thread fin and think you're better off than somebody who's throwing an artificial bait? You are twisted if you think that. You sound stupid, matter of fact, when I hear people say that. And it's crazy because some of these people, tarpon overrun their life. They think tarpon is the god. And everything, they got a tarpon on their shoes and on their socks and on their underwear and their shirts. And they let their hair grow long and they don't shave. And I've been down in Boca 20 years. Well, so what? I heard that comment this week. Oh yeah, I've been fishing here 20-something years. Well, who cares how long you've been fishing there? Do you have any more right than I got to be there? Now, I agree. You need to be courteous to the other fishermen. Fishermen is a good group of people. But some of the things throughout the years has separated some of these people. And I can tell you this, you get on your high horse and think you catching a thread fin out of an 80-year-old boat, or you catching a tarpon with a thread fin out of an 80-year-old boat, and you're sitting there drinking scotch in the pass, and you're better than me that's going to go up there with a jig and catch twice as many as you. We all let them go, and we all want them to live. So they ran them out of there. But, you know, you ain't going to stop progression. You know, my family's been here for a long time, but it makes me, I have no more rights than anybody else, Jerry. If you want to fish, I want you to fish. And that's why one of the reasons why I'm doing this show. I want to introduce you to the people that have taught me. Captain Jerry Williams, one of the best I've ever seen with a mirror lure. It took me forever to get on the boat. He'd just shake his head no. It wasn't no, you know, it was hard. He was hard.
Tell him what I told you at the store. I said, I ain't taking you.
He told me straight up, I ain't taking you. Nowadays, somebody start crying if you talk to them that way.
Oh, God.
It motivated me. And
He likes me to come down here and beg him. Oh, please, Mike, take me fishing.
that's about what I did to you, wasn't it?
That's it, bud. But it don't matter. You got that fishing trip, didn't you?
I got that first when I anchored it in. And then when he wouldn't take me, I'd have my buddies go hunt him down and tell me where he was fishing.
Oh,
Boy,
Lord.
he'd get wound up about that. Man, we've had some good times out there.
Oh, I'm telling you. You learn every time you go. If you don't learn, you're not paying attention, right?
That's right. I learned more from Jerry about that wind and tide. When you're over here on this east side of the bay, it's shallow everywhere in Tampa Bay, so you really have to be careful Pinellas Point's going to be the same way. Out in front of Gandy's going to be the same way. Anywhere that land necks down and you got a flowing tide coming out and the wind's against it, it ain't good. I can tell you that. It stands up. And I fished a lot of McDill over there with Jerry, and I know coming back, that was the main thing. It didn't matter about fish or nothing else. At 2 o'clock, we want to be coming back across this bay, and he would have his day planned out, whatever the tide was, and we'd go hit something over on the east side instead of having to. Now, I do remember one time getting out of there late, and that John boat of yours was straight up and down for at least 5 miles. It felt like it.
Oh man, that thing would just railroad you when you'd come down.
But just back off the throttle and bust a couple welds loose, and we were good. Old CL Matson would be over there that week putting more stiffeners in there. I ain't never seen. Jerry got a boat built, and he had to go to CL Matson with about another 200 feet of aluminum to get stiffeners put in it, because Jerry put that thing to the test, huh?
Oh, I did. That guy told me, I'll give you 3 years. Good, I'll see if it's going to hold it. It didn't hold it, man.
That's what you told him. I only need 3 months, buddy.
When I had the one John boat, I'd got 3 of them. So Mike down there at LFI Marine, Kesky,
Oh, yeah.
gave me Milton's phone number with Starcraft. So I called Milton and told him, you got to put some more ribs in these boats. They're going to bust down. I bust the heck out of them, too. Had to get back, didn't I?
Yeah, and we got back. But boy, I tell you what, they one of the things, and anybody out there with a John boat that's kind of tricking it out, so to speak, with the jack plates and all that kind of stuff, and I still tell people this story today. Jerry had a jack plate on the back, aluminum jack plate on the back of an aluminum boat with an aluminum bracket motor bolted to it. And going through all that aluminum with different bolts, it never got a good ground. And I remember that day, it burned a hole, electrolysis burned a hole in your boat, probably what, 1/8 of an inch?
Yeah.
In a matter of 6-7 hours. And how we, if you remember how we corrected that, I made a ground wire.
Come off that motor and on that plate.
All the way to the transom, on the inside of the transom, and it stopped that electrolysis. I've had a few situations where that, just knowing that story, had helped me out with helping customers here and how quick stuff can corrode on it.
You're here to serve and you know your business. That's why they come down here.
It works. I can tell you that. I'm a fisherman. It's like I tell people all the time. They ask me a question like about electronics, and I'm not the smartest when it comes to electronics. I look at them and say, I'm the end user like you. I don't know about all that stuff, but I know how to turn them on, and I can zoom into that bottom lock, and I can get us home on GPS. You know, and that's really all I figured out. But it's definitely helped with fishing with people like yourself and a lot of the other guys that have been around here. And you know, we used to fish that downtown tournament down there, and I know that was one of your favorites right there in your backyard. And it kind of went away, and the port has brought that out in the last couple of years, and I've been supporting it. It's not called the same thing, but it basically is. It's doing the same thing. It's a charity in this local area, and you know, doing it with the Port Authority.
The last time I did it, I had Jim Talbert. He was the original general manager there. And he bought the ticket from me for a full day by himself. Caught 17 redfish that morning, that afternoon, 27, 8-pounder. Brought him back to the dock, weighed him, this, that, measured him. Flipped him out there and let him go down and tied off to it. I was telling everybody, what you got? It's just fun. I had to poke a few ribs, you know.
Oh yeah, you get in that winner circle. It's fun sometimes. Your buddies come up and just kind of drive it into them, you know.
Ray Balla did over there. He was athletic director. He had he caught trout one year, snook another year, then Jim Talbert on the redfish.
You've gotten quite a few trophies out of that downtown.
Yeah, boy, that and Jim got was a beautiful one.
Yeah. Marquette used to run around there too. He was a tough one to beat. He'd
Oh,
always be tucked up underneath the dock somewhere trying to pull something out of there.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
did good at it. He was pretty good at that area. He
ain't,
wasn't.
ain't, you don't be slow, I'll tell you that.
No. First time we went sheephead fishing, that's what you told me. And boy, it took me a while to get the hang of it. First triple tail, must have jerked it out of his mouth 10 times. You kept saying 2 hits on a triple tail. And I'm going to tell y'all that I know this. You got a live bait, throw it up, triple tail hits it, wait for the second bump. First one's killing him, the second one he's eating it, you're on, guaranteed. That one over there, we were at that anchorage out in front of Davis Island, and man, I must have missed him 4 or 5 times, so I couldn't stand it. First bump, I'd jerk. Jerry'd say, you gotta wait, put another bait on. I'd put another bait on, do it again. It took about 3 or 4 times. I finally got him in the boat. Jerry said, we got to measure him. He looks close. I said, it don't matter. We're keeping him. That's my first one. He measured. He was an inch
a
over.
good keeper.
Yeah. Now they're really whacking them out there pretty good. They're catching them all year now.
I don't know why they don't let them spawn. Give them a couple of months to spawn. That's all it's going to take. But they'll wait till it gets so low down, this, that.
Yeah. I know that's one thing Jerry told me. The cobia, the reason why we've always targeted cobia and triple tail in the summertime is that's when they're coming in the bay to spawn. They circle them buoys, and that's what they're doing. And if you were ever going to try to help that fishery out, that's when you would shut it down a couple months right there.
That's all it'd take.
Grouper season's open anyway. It's some of the toughest time right now to keep fish because nothing's open, and that's what you hear people saying. But we went on a trip down to the Keys in a big boat, Jerry, a month ago, 3 weeks ago or so, and 11 different fish we could keep, we caught and kept.
Y'all catch them trolling or drifting?
Just
bait?
everything. Caught some on a reef at night with a light on, chumming. We caught some trolling. We caught some bottom fishing during the day.
Any tiger shark?
No, did you see that tiger shark that guy grabbed up the river? Boy,
Yeah.
they ain't gonna be good with that one. That last shark dragging didn't work out too good for them guys. I don't think this one is. Yeah, I've seen a tiger a few times. I've seen a 12-foot tiger eating our snapper up in Louisiana, and I'll tell you what, just looking at him gives you kind of chills.
I know, man. It's that death sentence. You get the shakes on him,
Massive. And I know there's bad karma with me because I've put some sharks to sleep. I can tell you that. Louisiana's got some of the worst, and the worst thing they ever did is stop people from keeping them, because now nobody catches them, nobody keeps them. I'm not into finning, but that's what was happening. So they shut down all those sharks, and I think you're allowed 1 per boat now, and there's going to be a reason why everybody's getting bit at the beach because nobody's catching sharks.
Man, a 10, 12-footer take you down like a little cork.
We were in Louisiana one time, anchored up on this place called the Lump. It's about 200 foot to 600 foot, a big salt lump, and we were chunking baits, and about every other 50-pound, 100-pound yellowfin that came in, hammerhead had come out from underneath the boat and just bite him in half. So we finished that problem. We let his buddies eat him, but we took care of that problem for that day. But you know what? You're right back in it again.
Yeah.
They got to do something. There's never a good time to not have management. You know what I mean? So stopping to kill something, whether it's fish or animals, when you just shut it off, and a good example is Goliath grouper. We got a problem with them right now, Jerry. They put no money into research to speak of. The first 2 years of that lionfish, I heard they spent more money than they have in 20 years on Goliath, just researching them. And now we got issues where they're out there just hammering people's baits. You can't catch nothing. They deplete the reef. You talk about something putting a hurting on small fish.
A fish there, he'll go 4 foot in hell.
Yeah. That's right. And the bigger they are, they get up well over 1,000 pounds or close to it, and that's got to eat some fish per day. So there's plenty of people out there doing some management for them. They just don't know about it.
I don't care for them. I got one many years ago. It was a 48-incher. Cleaned him, cut every bit of red dot, this, that. He was white as your shirt there.
Let's
Tastes
get,
like dadgum mud.
what time? What year was this one?
You don't worry about it here.
Let's get into telling on ourselves. Were they restricted then? You know, my dad, I remember him telling a diver, every one you get under 100 pounds, I'll take. And as a kid, they were legal for me. When I was younger, it was legal to take them. And this diver would come by, and whenever he had a 50-pounder, 60-pounder, he'd give it to my dad. And I've eaten plenty of them, but I just can't tell you that. I don't know if I necessarily think they're any good now. Tangles tells me he's eaten some recently, but who knows? He said he ordered it at a restaurant. I don't know if he ordered it at a restaurant. He said they just call it something different.
Yeah, sure, Tangles.
Yeah. He's funny. I had him on the podcast, Jerry. He's one of the most watched guys I had. And you know, there's no script here, people. And on that TV show I'm doing, on this one I'm doing, there ain't no script. I didn't know what I was going to come in here and talk to Jerry about, but I can tell you he's a good friend of mine. He knows a lot about fishing. I hope y'all learned something listening to this one, because this guy is truly the master in this area downtown. Taught me a lot. And the biggest thing is what he said earlier: spend your time, have patience, persistence, work that edge. You'll find those fish, won't you, Jerry?
Yep.
I mean, how many times do we pull into McKay Bay? We've come underneath Causeway Bridge, come in, made the turn like towards the old drive-in, started there, and didn't stop throwing a lure till we got to the mouth
Yep.
of Palm River. And you know what? You'd get a handful of fish.
But nice quality fish most of the time.
Yeah, that was Jerry's first house over there off Scratcher's Point. He lived right off the point there. When I had to go fishing with him, I'd just pull up and beep the boat horn, and he'd come walking out of the mangroves. I never saw no house. I don't know where he was sleeping in there, but that's where I picked him up at. Jerry, I appreciate you coming out today,
Hey,
buddy.
man, it's been my pleasure. I wish I would remember a little better than what I do.
Yeah, it's
But-
all right.
Hey, we're having a good time telling you the truth. Believe me, okay? This man right here, if you need some help, something on fishing, and you're down here, and you come to get a winch or something, get with him and ask him about fishing. He will be more than glad to help you out.
Absolutely. Anything you want to know, I'm here to help you out. I enjoy it. I've been in this area a long time, and I've learned from guys like this. Appreciate it, Jerry. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
We'll see y'all next time.